recognize and to be thankful. Doesn't really matter if you are thankful to any kind of religion or higher power. Doesn't matter. To someone that lends you a hand at some point, doesn't really matter. I think it really, what makes a difference is for you to recognize that it's not only up to you. It's up to you to take your own steps. Yes, you cannot simply stay there and cross your arms and wish it to make it through. No, you have to work, of course, but
welcome to the Payal Nanjiani Leadership Podcast. This is your host, Payal Nanjiani, and I am delighted to introduce our guest for today, Nelson Fernandes. Now, let me just pull up Nelson's bio. It was really impressive. Nelson is the Commissioner for European Economic Chamber, Strategy and Marketing Specialist, and an entrepreneur. A passion for sports, Nelson is currently working with several governments on their development programs, like from crucial infrastructures to healthcare, education, social and economically sustainable development, building the foundations for a better future for their people and for the next generations. And today, Nelson joins us to talk about achieving your dreams. Nelson, welcome to the Payal Nanjiani Leadership Podcast. It is such an honor to have you here.
Thank you, Payal. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation. It's a real pleasure. First of all, congratulations for all of the work. It's very, very important, especially nowadays, that we have this use of these facilities of all the technology for us to be able to share and to inspire all of the other people in the globe, and for the future generations, of course, for them to be able to access all of our experience. So thank you very much. Honored to be here, and honored to be able to share the little bit of my own experience, and hopefully to inspire someone out there that can hear us.
Oh, thank you. And I know, I was reading about you, Nelson, and you have just so much that you have done from being a strategy and marketing specialist to the position of a commissioner for the European Chambers. So tell us a little bit about your journey. How did all of this happen, and what really brought you to do what you're currently doing?
Well, I mean, I don't want to become one of those underdog kind of stories. But honestly, I was really fortunate because on my background, I was the first person on my family to even complete a degree.
Wow.
But it was never enough. Okay, not only I was the first one to complete a degree, but I was the first one to study abroad. So I've always had that drive to do more, to follow the limits of our own imagination, of what we really want to do. Of course, luck is a part of it. Okay, one cannot say that it isn't. And honestly, I can let me just share with you a very, very short example of one of the best stories that I heard just a couple of weeks ago. I was with a general director of a company here in Portugal, and he said, luck is extremely important. And I'll give you an example. You can be the best seaman out there in the ocean, but if you don't have one little bit of wind, you'll be stuck. So we have to recognize and to be thankful. Doesn't really matter if you are thankful to any kind of religion or higher power. Doesn't matter. To someone that lends you a hand at some point, doesn't really matter. I think it really, what makes a difference is for you to recognize that it's not only up to you.
Mhm.
It's up to you to take your own steps. Yes, you cannot simply stay there and cross your arms and wish it
Yeah.
to make it through. No, you have to work, of course, but luck did play a part. I did start as a marketing strategist, and things simply went up and up. I play the role in sports management in football a few years back as well. But you always meet someone, you always start relationships, and I know that especially when you have some sort of position, that you have some influence, these, when we speak about positions and relationships, people tend to frown upon. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, all of those malpractices, okay? Let's not stay here believing in unicorns, but relationships are important. And that's what is basically the short path between one area and my position nowadays. And even all of the work that I do, it's always about the relationships. It's impossible to do any kind of work in any area unless you are working in a tool booth or something like completely binary. The relationship that you have with the people around you, doesn't matter if you work with them directly or not, it's crucial. And I believe that that will be a decisive factor, especially now after the pandemic and with all of the craziness that we see in the world. That is extremely, extremely important.
Wow, that was quite an overview, Nelson. And let me tell you something. When you said about luck, it reminded me of my dad. This is something my dad constantly tells me. He said, you can do everything that you want, but there has to be, luck has to be on your side. Yeah, you really cannot push that factor out of your life. How much ever somebody says, I'm a self-made man or I'm a self-made woman, yes, that's a great thing, but there is something that is got you to where you are. And the moment you said that, it really touched my heart. It just reminded me of my dad, and till today he says that. He said, he has never seen in his life anyone who has not, who has gone ahead without that luck factor. So I think that's an open debate. There are many people who believe in it. There are many people, so that's an open debate.
I know that right now there are books and books and books that we see now, these self-taught and self-development books that we see all around, and people always say that they like to state that Sean Connery-like sentence: "I make my own luck." You wish. You wish. Yeah, of course, you have to do the work. That is absolutely important. That is absolutely important. We have a saying here in Portugal, that's like a story that a guy that believes that he has no luck, he asks God, "Oh God, please help me. I have no luck. Please bless me with a little bit of luck." And he spends all of his life like that. And when he dies, he arrives at the pearly gates. He sees God and he says, "Why didn't you listen to me?" And God replies, "Did you at least buy a lottery ticket?"
Oh my God.
So you have to do something. Of course, you need to be blessed. I believe that the practical, there is right now one thing that is becoming a trend as well, is one of those social skills. Is actually one of the concerns that I have, because I'm the older of several siblings, and I'm actually one of the things that I try to pass on to them is social skills. They cannot glue themselves to a screen. They have to be able to communicate as a person. That's our biggest skill. That's the skill that made us the predominant species in the world. So they need to have it. And that part of it is extremely important to me, and a very sensitive subject right now. But when people say, yeah, I want to develop it, I'm able to do this, there is like several movements being politically correct worldwide right now for equality. And I'm extremely supportive of all equality. Doesn't matter if it's gender, sexuality, if it's rights, if it's freedom, if it's speech. I don't care. Every person should be treated the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But we do tend to overdo it nowadays. We tend to tip the scales worse than the Portuguese did 500 years ago, when we picked up those small boats and went to discover new lands. The boat rocked less than those scales rock nowadays. So
yeah. And you also have another philosophy, right? Always think big and realize your dreams. So what is that philosophy about, and how have you used it in your own career life?
Listen, that is also connecting to the aspects of luck, since it was one of the topics that we were touching. If you gotta ask, it's like one of those people that look at the lottery. Okay, thinking about luck, I think that the exponential demonstration of having luck in a society is winning the lottery, right? It's the extreme example. There are always those people, I'm sure I have some friends like that, maybe you have too, that they look at the prize and say, oh, I would be so happy with just a small portion. And I always say, if you gotta ask, go for all of it. So if you gotta ask, go. Okay, think big. But there are, moving away from luck and for all of those personal experiences. If we go right now to the best examples in the world of successful people, those people didn't stay on the half measure. When we go, I was seeing a podcast a few weeks back, when the trend and the topic in the news everywhere was billionaires in space. And everyone was saying, oh, Bezos is going to space. Richard Branson went to space, but then they changed, he almost went to space. But then someone says, yeah, but Elon Musk doesn't participate in that kind of discussion. He's aiming for Mars. So going to the space station, that just, it doesn't even care about, it doesn't even celebrate.
He's thinking more bigger. Yes.
Yeah. So it's always about that. We need to, when we look at everything meaningful that was done in human history, whatever the area, they were always thinking big. Because if you do a pros and cons list, it's probably not worth the trouble, right? Because you're going to put in too much effort. And if you aim big, okay, like that saying, if you shoot for the stars and land on the moon, you're happy. But if you shoot for the moon and don't even make it to the space station, it was all for almost nothing. So if you got to shoot big.
Shoot it big. Okay. And tell me, Nelson, in your own career life, you've also mentioned that if you can dream it, you can achieve it, which is very, very linkable to think big. And since we're talking about dreams, in the world, in the working field, whether people are doing businesses or they are in the corporate life, people really shrink themselves. They don't think big, they don't dream big, and they don't believe that if they can dream it, they can really achieve it. So, what would be your take on that, so that more people in the corporate world begin to believe that if they can really think big, if they can dream it, they can achieve it also?
Yeah, I mean, that could be a topic for a full-on podcast on its own. Just that question.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I a few seminars just on that. And I mean, to me, let's start from my personal experience from early beginning. My first job was playing around with design software and everything, doing logos and selling trinkets to corporations while I was in university. But my first contract, I was a marketing director for the biggest industrial shoe technology company, shoe technology group of companies here in Portugal. So very, very green. Okay, I had zero experience at that level. Learned a lot with my first employer. Is one of the people that I still keep a relationship with. And one of the things that I've noticed is the shoe business here, shoe manufacturing in Portugal, is one of the biggest things. Okay, it's shoe, textile, cork, tourism. There were always wine. There was always the big groups. And working in the shoe industry, I listened and I have a lot of replies every time that I asked, hey, why are we doing this in this way? Just to know, because I didn't know anything. Okay? I knew the theory. But when you have everything happening around you, you are always, okay, why are we doing this? What are we doing? This is something that someone that starts asks a lot. And I always have that reply, because it's always been done like this. I hated it from the first time that I had that, because if something works, it doesn't necessarily mean that it cannot be changed just because it works.
Yeah.
Right. So it's always about that, and I always have that kind of thing. Okay, and moving forward from that reality, in Europe, the European Union supports research and development, supports quality management systems, supports employment. So there are always grants that come centrally for companies to, even for startups, for them to improve, to put all of these systems in place.
Okay.
And so I felt, okay, it doesn't mean necessarily, okay, I don't want to minimize the efforts of anyone, okay? But what I felt from my experience was that there are lots of people that have really, really good development ideas that don't even get to the project stage. They're just ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they don't believe that they can do it. They don't believe that they will have the resources to do it. Or they say, because we tend to go the easier way every single time. We are human, and human don't like pain, don't like effort. If we have an easier way to do something or to go somewhere, we usually tend to go in that direction. So when there are these grants, Even today, I have lots of people that say, listen, I have this business project, I have a business plan. Can I invite you to lunch? And can you hear me out? And possibly give me an input? And I hear them out. And at the end, they say, listen, do you think that there are any grants from the European Union to support this kind of project? And my answer is always the same, divided on two bullet points. First, I don't work with those kind of grants. There are big established institutions out there that do that for a living, and their own purpose for existing is that kind of work. But I always ask them as the second bullet point, is that project feasible on its own? Does it add value? Because if it does, then these grants would be an added value as well, would be a bonus, but they won't depend on them.
Right.
Okay? So what I mean is, if you can dream it, and what you are dreaming, you're not dreaming that you are like just Superman or Batman and you can fly or shoot lasers. So dreaming is something that you can even see happening, okay? Even if you don't know how, that doesn't really matter. One of idols in the world, unfortunately, I haven't met him yet, is Richard Branson. And he had a quote a long time ago that he says, always say yes. Even if you don't know how to do it, say yes first, and then go and find out how you can do it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you have an idea and you don't know how to, but maybe you know someone that have a similar experience,
right,
or a similar, then it's easier when you decide to take action. It's easier for you to surround yourself with people that can add, even if it's a tenth of a millimeter, just a little fraction of a way closer to what you can see. Or they can simply say, listen, that is absolutely impossible, but did you ever thought of switching this? Okay, and then you can arrive somewhere.
All right, so it's one step at a time.
Always one step at a time, but if you can envision it, okay, I also like, I always go to all of these big sayings because it's something that we have engraved in our minds, so we can use as pillars, as stepping stones.
True. Okay? True. That's right.
There's like, it's probably a myth. Okay, I'm not from the science side, but I saw several times people quoting that if you can imagine something that is absolutely impossible, the universe will implode. Because you cannot something that is impossible. So if you can dream it, you are imagining something that is possible. You may not know how to get. Okay, you probably won't be able to do it on your own, but listen, you don't have to. Right now you can move. Even with COVID, we were able to move, and we are able to move around the world much, much, much easier than our fathers. We don't even go to our grandparents, our parents. That's it. It's enough. It's enough.
I think that is so imperative what you said, because I always believe that the how is none of your business. Your job is to really stick to your goals and to really achieve them. But Nelson, when people think about goals, when they think about their dreams or their projects, there are a lot of obstacles. There are a lot of hurdles in the way. You know, how would you explain that? You know, because people do worry. Okay, you know, I'll go ahead, but I can see these obstacles and I can see these hurdles, or my boss is like this, or my projects are like this. And we start to believe that, hey, you know what, these obstacles are just in my way now. So how has that been for you in your journey from a marketing strategist to the commissioner right now?
Okay. First, I mean, of course, that when I was still finishing my degree, I had no idea that I would be the commissioner right now. I mean, 20 years later. But at the time, what I knew was looking at the circumstance around me, looking at what my fellow, my friends at the university, were my peers basically were dealing with in the labor market. Okay, the hardships of getting employed, the cultural clash that we had, because my degree was marketing management. So I was marketing management at the time when you said marketing, everyone thought advertising, period.
I remember those days.
So I actually conducted a small research, a study, that we went knocking on doors in, I mean, more than 80% of the corporate fabric here in Portugal, it's PMEs. It's small SMEs in.
Okay.
Okay, so small or medium enterprises. Most of them small, not medium. So when we were knocking on their doors and saying, listen, do you know what marketing is? And as a second question, how, if they said yes, how do you use it? They always answered advertising. Always, 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So it was a clash on its own. So I felt that what I had to offer wasn't enough. So I felt the need that I needed to go abroad. I needed to broaden my perspective, okay, to see a bigger picture. Because here I would just be asking for a job to people that were looking down at me, not because they were minimizing my ability, they just didn't even understand it. That may be a problem. But speaking of hurdles, what, from my experience, even today, when I get a new project coming to the table, the trend that I identified is that people tend to panic, foreseeing, they like to call it problems. I agree with you, I call them hurdles or situations or something that we simply have to deal with. Say, oh, this is a problem. That's usually the expression, right? So when they say, we will have a problem, I say, when? Because usually they say, I mean, I'll give you a proper example. A new electric car. Oh, but now we will have a problem because Jaguar is going to go head first 100% into electrical vehicles. And I asked, and?
True.
Does it really matter? No, because we tend to, I think that part of it, right, nowadays is the responsibility of the media, because we are completely under bombing of bad, negative, depressing, alarming news pieces every single day. Okay, I was just as a short side story, I was a couple of years ago in Greece, and it was just a few years after Portugal was able to step out of an emergency program that we had here for economical support. And Greece was more or less in the same circumstance. And I was invited to go to Greece to participate and to speak at an event for entrepreneurs. And everyone speaks about the crisis. Okay, I believe that if we were in classical times, crisis would be another god with a representation and statues and all of the works. And I started my presentation showing them those images that unfortunately are real, and most of us have already seen, of those children in Africa that have no medical care, nothing to eat, and very, very alarming situation.
Yes.
Okay. Show them those pictures. And I asked the audience, are you going to do something about this? And no one said anything. I said, okay, so let it go. If you're not going to solve that problem on your day-to-day basis, doesn't mean that you don't respect that, but you need to let it go. Otherwise, it will block you. Then showed them the tables of all the economic indicators from the IMF for Greece. And I repeated the question, is anyone here going to do something to address any of these factors, or any of these variables? Raise of hands. No one. Then let it go. Okay, focus. Scope is extremely important when you are doing something. Okay, if you are, I mean, for example, it was it's known that one of the issues that humankind needs to deal with right now is obesity. Everyone is getting overweight, more and more passive. I mean, people eat poorly, they don't move. But it's impossible for you to say that your day one will be running a marathon. You cannot.
Correct.
You need to start going for a walk. Okay. And for me, going into the business world, it's exactly the same thing. Okay. When I advised and I participated in mentorship programs, I said, listen, right now you have LinkedIn, you have TikTok, you have Facebook, you have, I don't even know them all. Okay.
True.
I'm sure
Too
that
much social media out there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's another media outlet there. So, but it means that every single day you have another outlet, another channel, another possibility for you to reach out. And I said to my, it was a mentor and apprentice kind of thing. And I said to her, reach out to one person per week. You need to, what your objective is to be able to have one phone call, one video chat, whatever, successfully, one person per week. You'll finish the year with a group of more than 50.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Okay, quality, not quantity. We're not talking about millions of likes or views or no, quality. Okay, those people that when you need something and when you want to comment, when you want to add value, even to your idea, going back to the previous question, you envision something.
Yeah.
And you say, oh yeah, I met someone at an event or through LinkedIn or whatever, and he'd had some experience in that area. Let me reach out. And in my experience, it works. It worked before. People can say, yeah, that guy says now that it works because he has a fancy title. No, it worked before.
Mhm. No, I think I can completely relate to that, Nelson. One connection per week and a genuine connection is more appreciative and better than millions of them on your social media. That's very true. So Nelson, we've got to know so much about you, and it's been an honor to have you here. But at the same time, I want to wrap this up with one question. Um, if there was no dictionary, no Google, what would Nelson's definition of leadership be? If you had to just say it in one line, what would your definition be?
Wait, one line is impossible. Why? Because we are not the same. Everyone is different. So we cannot have a one size fits all definition of something, whatever it is.
Okay.
That's why I believe that there are many religions. Because we are all different. It's impossible for everyone to have the same thing.
Right.
And it's good that we have this diversity, even before diversity became a buzzword with political implications. So that is one of the things that I like the most. And I take pleasure. I cannot even describe the pleasure that I have on my travels every time that I meet someone from another country, from another culture. I always have that urge. I want to have more time. I want to learn more languages. I want to know more about the person. I try to pace myself not to become one of those nagging people that basically put them under a spot and ask them questions over and over. But I'm like that. I'm enthusiastic. So if it's my kind of leadership, is I have trouble in being a part of a group where the person who is in a position of leadership isn't active, isn't a person that when we have that hurdle or that situation in front of us that demands attention or action, that isn't fast to react.
Okay.
And when we say react, the reaction may even be doing nothing, as long as it's decisive within a decision. They have decided to doing nothing, not being passive.
Okay. Wow.
So my definition would be to inspire the rest of the group, and inspiration going to the emotional side of it, because that's what I believe that is our untapped reserves of energy, is on our emotions, not far away. So when we go there, I would advise on that kind of leadership. But as I started to answer you, that doesn't mean that other types of leadership aren't more or less effective in another situation or another circumstance. What inspires me is action, is energy, it's movement. It's one of those situations. Envision a classical Chinese movie going to battle, and you see the hero is the first one starting to run, with the hands on the sword, screaming, and everyone to support him. That's my kind of leadership.
Wow. And I can definitely, say that you have real high energy, because this podcast, just having you here, was so energized, all of us. So thank you so much, Nelson, for your time and for being on this podcast.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Your insights were great, and I wish all our listeners and our viewers lots of success. May God bless all and have unstoppable success. This is Nelson Fernandes and Payal Nanjiani signing off. Thank you.